Hello, fellow traveler. Okay, so Dehya. Dehya. If you're anything like me, you probably feel a bit confused, to say the least. I have been hearing players call Dehya one of the worst, if not the worst 5-star in the game. I've heard people call her a 3-star. And I gotta admit, I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to hold on to some particle of hope that Hoyoverse wouldn't release a character that was almost unusable. But here I am. So, I've been racking my brain, like most of you, asking the same question. What were they thinking? She doesn't deal great damage. She doesn't apply much pyro. She has rough energy requirements. Her skill doesn't last long enough. Her burst doesn't trigger other characters' skills. She doesn't help much with reactions, with the possible exclusion of burning. So what does she do? What is she here for? What are you? Okay, so this is just my best guess here, but I think most of us feel like it seems at least like Hoyoverse really intended for her to be a tank. But does that role have any value? Hoyoverse has a history of introducing things that change up how we play and how we set up our teams. If you've been around since the beginning, as I have, you'll remember a time when Venti was literally a god. He destroyed everything. People said playing Venti was like putting the game on easy mode. So what did Hoyoverse do? They made some heavier enemies and forced us to deal with them in other ways. Later, players didn't value healers. We slapped the old Zhongli shield on and nothing could touch us. So they introduced bleeding mechanics and enemies that hit hard enough to break your shield and require a healer. There was a time when most DPS characters were melee. So what did they do? They threw in these annoying little buggers and suddenly all the Yanbei mains rejoiced. Or, there's this evil jerk who really helped put value on characters like Yoimiya. So something I noticed in Sumeru was the emphasis on interruption as a mechanic. There are previous enemies that interrupt, we've seen it before, and I could be off here, but it really felt like a lot of Sumeru enemies not only interrupted, but were particularly good at it. So, in my head, there's a possibility Hoyoverse overvalued interruption resistance. Partially because we already have a lot of characters that have their own resistance or can give it to others, like Xingqiu. But the infinite poise Dehya gives is honestly pretty cool. And it's as good or better than any other interruption resistance I've seen. And yet, it lasts a super short time. I don't know, but I'd still be curious to see if we get more enemies that interrupt, and if that becomes more valuable over time as part of Hoyoverse's vision for Dehya. But could there be anything else? Because right now, that doesn't really feel like enough. You could just bring a shielder or a healer and call it a day. In fact, it seems like you need a healer on Dehya teams anyway. So now's the time where we get to put on our speculation hats and try to be mind readers. Rumor has it there's a new artifact set that may boost Dehya a bit. And I don't think it's gonna redeem her character or anything, but what it does actually intrigues me. It seems to be based on taking damage. As long as Dehya takes damage, her skill and burst get boosted. So my first thought, Hoyoverse is trying to create a new gameplay element. One thing Dehya does differently than shielders is allows you to take damage. We have another artifact set for Xiao based on continually losing HP, so if we get more artifacts or weapons like this, it could mean we could use them on other characters. Not just Dehya or Xiao, or, characters that self-damage themselves like Hu Tao or Kuki, but possibly on characters that don't have that inherent mechanic, but now can take damage more safely to proc these various effects. Okay, so this is a terrible example for Dehya, because she wouldn't be part of this team. But imagine using the new artifact on Kokomi in a Nilo comp. Anyway, a Nilo comp. So the 2-piece set gives her HP, which is great. And Kokomi will continually take damage due to the bloom explosions, so she'd proc the 4-piece bonus, and would get a damage boost to her skill and burst. Now, I'm not sure it would be better than the clam set for her. In fact, I doubt that it would be, but I'm just trying to give an example of how Hoyoverse could be giving us more options down the road for boosts based on taking damage. And Dehya is a character that can allow that to happen to your on-field character. Another theory, and this might be less far-fetched. We all know we're going to meet the Hydro Archon sometime soon. A lot of people have wondered what she might specialize in, especially because Hydro as an element really has been focused on kind of the Hydro application and the Hydro healing. We already have extremely good Hydro applicators, and we also have very capable healers. So I suspect something they could do is really let her be the Archon of HP scalers. So maybe in the future, giving additional HP scaling to Dehya could bring her to a much more ideal state in the game. It might also break characters like Nilou or Hu Tao, but it's just a thought. Hoyoverse might also just have plans to do more with burning. I don't know. Obviously, this is me drinking a can of Hopa-Cola. Pause for crickets. I mean, it's just so hard to defend Dehya right now. And to be honest, I'm not going to be wishing on her banner. But she is one of my favorite characters in-game, and I just have to hold on to hope that one day she'll get her moment to shine. I see a lot of people saying Hoyoverse just doesn't care about Dehya, and they made her bad on purpose because they can get away with it, or they're trying to make the standard banner feel like a true loss when you lose your 50-50, or whatever else. But I still see a lot of care in this game to the characters. The attention to detail is honestly remarkable, and most of the time, characters evolve and change and drift in and out of meta, so feel free to join me in my vain attempt to hold out for the future. And this isn't me trying to justify releasing a character in an unusable state, and then making them better over time. That is a very weird tactic. We've just seen it before with characters like Yai and Kuki, so it seems possible, given Hoyoverse's history. And I don't know, Dehya just deserves it. Okay, so that's all. I would love to hear your thoughts and theories too, so feel free to share, and I'll catch you later, traveler.